Hello, this is Trish Ajel Roberts with today's Wellness and Transformation vlog, Thoughts on Everything. So today's episode is called Taming the Lion, and I get a lot of questions about anger. So I wrote two self-help books that deal with anger this year. The first one was Thinking Outside the Chrysalis, a Black woman's guide to spreading her wings. And the second, the most recent, is 12 Steps to Mind-Blowing Happiness, a journal of insights, quotes, and questions to juice up your journey. But they both share what I believe to be a fact, which is that you don't have to have anger in your life. Now, I know for most of us, you're going to have some anger, right? But it's a matter of reducing and releasing. And just saying those two words makes me feel like really good. So the question then becomes, well, how do you do this? How do you reduce anger? How do you release your anger? So my approach is called Tame and Reframe. And there's 4 steps. So there's 2 steps in the taming part and 2 steps in the reframing part. So the taming part, the first step is to acknowledge your anger. So I like to think of it as like a lion, that's kind of like, sitting next to me. So I acknowledge it like, okay, someone's triggered me. I see you. And then the next step is breathe it out. So like, 2, 3 deep breaths, just to kind of bring some oxygen around the body, up to the brain, lower stress levels so that you're in a position to make good decision. So that's the taming part, acknowledging the anger and then taking some breaths. And then the reframing part is, first step is to ignite your empathy. And then the second step is to go to constructive action. So an example that most people can relate to is, say you're driving in traffic and some shady person cuts you off and you're like, you could first go like, I see my lion, right? I feel this anger rising in me. And then shift it to, of course, take your breath and then shift it to the empathy. So that could be, I wonder why they cut me off. Maybe they're having a heart attack. Maybe they're driving to the hospital. Maybe someone they know was sick. Maybe they're late for a job interview or an important meeting, or maybe they're running from an abusive relationship. Whatever it is, you don't know what happened, but you're just igniting your empathy so that you're recognizing the humanity in the other person. And even if the person is just kind of a real jerk who likes to cut people off all the time, you can still have empathy for that. Like, they're probably not having the best life if the highlight of their day is cutting people off, or if they think that that's just normal behavior. Like, who are your friends when you cut people off all day? So anyway, so ignite your empathy. And then from there, constructive action. So what might that be? Well, when you're driving, you might just wish that person a safe journey, or you might wish them happiness. Any positive wish that you can send their way mentally would be a constructive action in that situation. And just, you guys know I'm at home. If you hear jangling, that's my canine assistant, Cooper. He's scoping out the whole area for me here just to make sure that it's safe or fantastic or something. He might jump on with me. But yeah, so that's in that example. Another example could be, say you drive home and you see that your neighbor put a Trump sign in their lawn. If you're like me, you might be like, you know what I'm saying? So acknowledge your lion, be like, I see you. And then take a breath, and then go towards your empathy. Because I think the empathy muscle is the one that we need to work on a little bit more. So maybe think, okay, why did this person put this in their lawn? Um, is it is there an issue with education? Is it do they feel isolated? Are they believing in false conspiracy theories? So just kind of, go through that same pattern, looking for the empathy. And then in that example, you again want to go to constructive action. But what would the constructive action be? Well, it could be maybe I should share some literature with them, or maybe I should volunteer with my local um, progressive political organization, or whatever organization I think might counter um, their whatever it is that they're ascribing to or believing in. So you can look for ways to be constructive with the acknowledgement of your anger. Because basically anger happens when the world doesn't do the things we think the world should do. When people think things that we don't think they should be thinking, or when people do things to us that we don't like, you might be angry because it's a rainy day and you wanted a sunny day, you know? So just learning to kind of deal with the reality that things are not always going to happen the way that you want them to. And you have a choice of being angry, which serves absolutely no purpose. You can raise your blood pressure, you can get into unnecessary conflicts, you can lose friends or be one of those people that other people don't want to be around. There's a lot of things that anger does. It just doesn't serve any purpose. So another example would be like, say, in a relationship. Maybe you're arguing with your partner and they've known you for a long time, so they know how to press all your buttons and hit all your triggers. And you might get that trigger and say, okay, I see you lying. Take a breath and then ignite your empathy. So if your partner is at you like that, clearly they are not happy. There's probably some built up resentments. And it may be time to do something different. Schedule a time when you can have a conversation when you're not angry and have your issues addressed. If that's not something that you're capable of at this stage in your relationship, you might want to have a mediator. Go to a counselor or a therapist, someone who could be a third party. Or your mediator could even be a book. Maybe some author has written a great relationship book and you guys can work through that together. It could even be working through something I've written, or a piece of some of the books that I've written. But just finding kind of a third party, whether it's written ideas or another person, could be your constructive action, so that you guys are not just triggering each other and raising, your blood pressure and drinking whiskey. You know what I mean? It's just like, who wants to live in that space? So I will say this technique, it could be a little tricky in the beginning because if you're not in the habit of it, but once you are in the habit of it, it works every single time. So tame and reframe. What's the first step? Acknowledge the lion. Then breathe. Third step, ignite your empathy. Just switch it around. And then the final step is constructive action. And there is always a way to find something constructive to do, even if the only thing that you can do is wish someone else well. And that's it. That is a huge step. I would say it is the most important step on the quest to not just happiness, but mind-blowing happiness, is releasing that anger component. And I hope you guys enjoyed this talk today. If you want to follow me, you can find me at mindblowinghappiness.com or on Instagram, Mindblowing Happiness, and Facebook, same thing, Mindblowing Happiness. Enjoy the rest of your day. Bye-bye.